this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, the Duke of Dickery, the King of Mean, the Emperor of Evil, Frieza, finally returns. Okay, so this week's episode was basically a straight retelling of Dragon Ball Resurrection F, this movie right here, which if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. It's awesome. It's got better animation than this series right here. That's not to say this episode was bad. No. It actually does have some things that I really enjoy, like the possibility of seeing Captain Ginyu again! That's right, at the end of this episode, when Togama and Sorbet travel to Earth to use Earth's Dragon Balls to revive Frieza, hanging out right there is the Ginyu Frog, and he probably instantly recognizes either Togama or Sorbet, or the ship that Frieza is using, and probably stows away on board. Are we going to see the return of this character? Is he going to use his body change technique to inhabit one of these brand new soldiers? I cannot wait to see, but that's freaking awesome, because if Ginyu returns, that means we might get another generation of Ginyu Force fighters, and that, to me, is awesome. It needs to happen. Everything else in the episode, though, for the most part, was basically a straight retelling of the movie version. There are some expanded scenes, like if you wanted to see Piccolo playing peekaboo with Pan, which was honestly pretty awkward and funny. Goku and Vegeta continuing to spar with Whis and continuing to get their asses handed to them. They also get their brand new symbols on their doggies. This week's episode also sees the return of everyone's favorite villains, the Pilaf Gang. Yeah, that's right, they return. They're actually pretty central to helping out Togama and Sorbet revive Frieza, because they actually find one of the Dragon Balls for them, and they're also responsible for stealing the other two wishes, where, of course, you have Shu, who wishes for, like, 1,000,000 Zenny, which is really not all that much money in the grand scheme of things. And then Mai ups the ante by wishing for some ice cream, but the funniest part of this is that the dragon actually gives her a cooler to keep it in. It's pretty kind of him. Now, just like the movie version, Frieza comes back in the last form that he was seen in the series, and that's when Future Trunks sliced and diced him and blew him up. Now, he does return in all these different pieces, and thanks to their weird, crazy technology, they're actually able to bring him back to life, and at the end of this episode, he explodes out of this healing tank, looking all evil and pompous as ever. Frieza's back, bitches! So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? It was a pretty good episode. For people who didn't see Resurrection F, you're really going to like this episode a lot because it's just going to be a big nostalgia trip with Frieza. Frieza is my favorite villain from the series, bar none, so I'm really glad to see his return. And I loved the movie version. I feel they could have done a little bit better on this one, but they went right through most of the opening act. And, there's just certain scenes that just look better in the movie version. Like when you go to Hell for the first time. The overall visuals just look so much better. And, it's still funny getting to see how Frieza is actually tortured in Hell by all of the weird sprites and fairies and stuffed animals and for some odd reason, Playboy bunny girls. That doesn't really seem like punishment to me, but whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Just a real super condensed version of the movie with a few minor scenes changed and altered, but the return of Ginyu, I think, is honestly a very nice surprise, and probably my favorite thing about this episode. I love the Ginyu Force. If they could somehow bring back the old guys too, I don't know if that'd be possible, considering that they are in Hell as well, they would probably need the Dragon Balls to make that happen. So that's why I still believe there's probably going to be like a new generation of Ginyu Force fighters, and I just can't wait to see all the wacky poses and attacks that they're going to have. Love those guys. Artwork and animation was okay for this episode, very passable, but nothing too groundbreaking either. Just a nice looking episode of Dragon Ball, but I really can't wait to see where they're going to be going with this story arc. They could be making some very big changes. One change I would like to see personally is to actually see the training that Frieza is going to go to, which was completely omitted from the movie version, so this seems like a prime opportunity to see that, as well as seeing it go alongside both Goku and Vegeta's training. We'll really get to see how far they have come, but Frieza's resurrection is pretty awesome. It's so ominous that everyone in the universe feels it, even Goku and Vegeta, so let's get excited. Let's see how they're going to handle the Resurrection F arc. This week's episode, I still think was really good for new viewers. For people who saw the movie, they might get a little bored. Otherwise, I really liked it, especially with all the Ginyu stuff, so I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5. Just a classic, epic-feeling episode of Dragon Ball. It's going to be a big build-up to the epic rematch between Goku and Frieza, so let's just kick back and relax. Before you guys leave today, make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super in the comment section below. Did you have a favorite scene from this episode? Are you a fan of Frieza? Who's your favorite Dragon Ball villain? And what do you want to see from this arc and beyond in Dragon Ball Super? Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. You guys can also check out our weekly podcast show and follow us on social media. It's all there for you guys to groove on. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!